Welcome to this journey, a spiritual quest that will take you through the different vibration levels of awakening. You might ask yourself, what are these vibrations? How do they affect us? Why are some people more attuned to their spiritual essence than others? In this video, we're going to dive deep, and by the time we're done, your understanding of yourself and the world will be forever changed. Let's start by imagining the concept of vibration. Everything in this universe vibrates energy matter, even our thoughts. The higher the vibration, the closer we come to truth, peace, and enlightenment. The lower the vibration, the more we're trapped in fear, ego, and suffering. The journey of spiritual awakening is nothing more than a shift in vibrational frequency, and today we'll explore all the levels from the densest, most ego-driven states to the highest, most expansive realms of unity with the divine.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
At the most basic level, we begin in a state of unconsciousness. This is where most of us start our lives. We are operating in a low vibration, bound by our ego and completely identified with our thoughts, emotions, and physical bodies. At this level, life feels heavy. We often feel stuck, as if we're victims of circumstances. We react more than we act, and everything seems to happen to us rather than because of us. Many people live their entire lives in this vibration, believing that the world is happening around them, and they have no control over it. But here's the deep question: have you ever stopped and asked yourself, who is the one experiencing all these thoughts and feelings? Is it really you? As we move up the vibrational scale, we slowly begin to realize that we are not our thoughts. This is the first major shift, a crack in the illusion. You start to notice that there is a part of you that is observing everything. When you feel anger, you recognize it as anger rather than being angry. When you feel sadness, you can label it as sadness instead of drowning in it. The observer within you awakens, and you start to see the ego for what it is: just a collection of thoughts, conditioning, and past experiences. But even at this stage, it's easy to fall back into old patterns. The ego is clever, and it will use every trick in the book to keep you identified with it. You might find yourself slipping back into old habits, reacting to life's challenges with fear or anger. This is normal. The ego doesn't want to die, and it will fight to maintain control. The question is, how do you respond when this happens? Do you give in and let the ego take over, or do you step back and observe without judgment? As your vibration continues to rise, you may experience what is known as the dark night of the soul. This is a profound period of spiritual crisis where everything you once believed about yourself and the world begins to crumble. It can be a terrifying and disorienting experience, but it is also one of the most important stages of awakening. During this time, you may feel lost, disconnected, and even hopeless, but this is the ego's last stand. It's the moment where you are forced to confront the deepest parts of yourself, the fears, the traumas, the limiting beliefs you've held onto for so long. And here's the wild part: as painful as this process is, it's necessary. It's the only way you can let go of the old version of yourself and step into a higher vibration. But ask yourself, are you ready to let go of everything you think you are? Are you willing to step into the unknown, even if it means losing the identity you've spent your whole life building? Once you've passed through the dark night, you'll find yourself in a state of surrender. This is where you begin to understand that life doesn't need to be controlled. You start to trust the flow of the universe. realizing that everything is happening for your highest good, even if it doesn't always seem that way. You stop fighting life and start working with it. Instead of resisting challenges, you embrace them as opportunities for growth. You begin to see that every experience, no matter how painful, is a lesson designed to help you evolve. And as you surrender more and more, you start to feel lighter. Your vibration continues to rise, and you experience moments of deep peace and joy, even in the midst of chaos. But here's the thing: surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop taking action or pursuing your goals. In fact, at this level of vibration, you're more effective than ever. You take inspired action that is aligned with your highest self. You're no longer driven by fear, ego, or the need to prove yourself. Instead, you're motivated by love, creativity, and a desire to serve others. You become a vessel for the universe to work through, and life starts to flow effortlessly. But again, I ask you, can you trust that the universe has your back? Can you let go of the need to control everything and allow life to unfold as it's meant to? As you continue to raise your vibration, you begin to experience what is known as oneness. This is a state of consciousness where the illusion of separation dissolves, and you realize that you are connected to everything and everyone. You are no longer just a separate individual, you are part of the whole. You see yourself in others, and you see the divine in everything from the trees to the animals to the stars. At this level, love is not something you feel for a specific person, it is the very essence of your being. You are love, and you radiate it out to the world effortlessly. But here's the ultimate question: can you see the divine in the person who has hurt you the most? Can you love them as a reflection of yourself? In this state of oneness, your vibration is at its highest. You are living in alignment with your true self, and everything in your life flows with ease. You have transcended the ego, and you no longer feel the need to defend yourself, prove yourself, or compare yourself to others. You are free. You are at peace. You are whole. And yet, the journey never ends. Even at the highest levels of vibration, there is always more to learn, more to experience, more to awaken to. The universe is infinite, and so is your potential for growth. So I leave you with this final question: are you ready to step into the unknown and continue your journey of awakening, no matter where it leads? The dark night of the soul, a test of your spiritual resolve. So you've made it this far, but now things get real. This is where most people turn back. They've started to experience higher vibrations, a sense of awakening, and then bam, they hit what feels like a spiritual wall. Everything they thought they understood starts to fall apart. This is what's called the dark night of the soul, and it's not just some metaphorical phase. It's a raw, intense period where the very foundation of your identity begins to crumble. It's a moment where you're stripped down to your core, where nothing makes sense anymore, and the life you once knew seems like a distant memory. You might feel like you're losing your grip. The things that used to bring you comfort, your relationships, your job, even your spiritual practices, suddenly seem hollow. You may find yourself questioning everything. What's the point of all this? Why am I going through this pain? Why isn't my spiritual practice helping me anymore? It's as if the universe has pulled the rug out from under you, and you're left standing in the middle of an empty room, unsure of where to turn. But here's the truth, this is the test. The dark night of the soul isn't something to fear, it's something to face head on. It's not about surviving this period, It's about understanding that the life you've built on old beliefs, fears, and ego-driven desires has to be dismantled for something greater to emerge. You won't come out of this the same person you were before. And that's the point. The old version of you, the one who was driven by fear, attachment, and control, has to die so that your true self can be born. It's not pretty. It's not easy. There are no shortcuts through this part. You might feel lost, disconnected, and even betrayed by life. But this is where the real work happens. This is where you're forced to confront the shadows you've been avoiding for so long. All those unresolved emotions, the traumas you've buried deep inside, they come rushing to the surface. And there's no escaping them anymore. You have to face them, sit with them, and feel them fully. Only then can you release them. And this isn't some quick process. The dark night of the soul can last weeks, months, even years. It's not something that has a clear beginning or end. You can't schedule it, and you definitely can't control it. But what you can control is how you respond to it. Will you resist the process, trying to hold on to the old ways of being, or will you surrender to the transformation that's trying to take place within you? During this time, everything may feel like it's falling apart, and you might think, why is this happening to me? But what if the real question is, why is this happening for me? What if this breakdown is actually a breakthrough in disguise? What if what you're experiencing right now is the necessary destruction of everything that is no longer serving you, making space for something far greater to emerge? People often talk about the dark night of the soul like it's this mystical, far-off phase that only spiritual masters go through. But in reality, it's something many people experience at some point in their lives, whether they realize it or not. It's that moment when you're forced to confront the fact that the life you've been living is no longer in alignment with who you are becoming. It's a necessary part of the spiritual awakening process, and it's something you can't avoid if you're serious about raising your vibration and stepping into a higher state of consciousness. You might be wondering, how do I get through this? The answer is simple, but not easy. You don't. You don't get through the dark night of the soul like it's some obstacle to overcome. Instead, you allow it to do its work. You let it strip away everything that isn't real, everything that's been holding you back from living in alignment with your true self. You let it burn away the illusions of who you thought you were, and in the ashes of that destruction, your real self begins to emerge. But don't mistake this process for passivity. This isn't about sitting around waiting for things to get better. It's about being brutally honest with yourself. It's about looking at the parts of yourself you've been hiding from and asking, is this really who I am? It's about feeling the fear, the anger, the sadness, and letting it move through you without trying to control or suppress it. It's about letting go of the need to have all the answers and trusting that the answers will come when the time is right. This period may feel like a void, a space where nothing seems to make sense. And that's because the old structures of meaning are being torn down, and the new ones haven't fully formed yet. You're in between worlds, the old world of ego and fear, and the new world of truth and love. It's a disorienting space to be in, but it's also where the magic happens. It's where the real transformation takes place. As you move through this process, you might notice that certain people, situations, or habits start to fall away from your life. This can be painful, but it's also necessary. The things that are no longer in alignment with your higher vibration can't stay in your life. This isn't a punishment, it's a gift. The universe is clearing the way for something better, something more aligned with who you are becoming. But that doesn't mean it's easy. You might feel grief, anger, or confusion as you watch these things fall away. And that's okay. Feel those emotions fully, but don't get stuck in them. Know that this is part of the process. Eventually, you'll start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The dark night of the soul doesn't last forever, even though it might feel like it at times. As you begin to release the old patterns and beliefs that have been holding you back, you'll start to experience moments of clarity, peace, and even joy. These moments might be fleeting at first, but they'll become more frequent as you continue to let go of the old and embrace the new. And when you come out on the other side, you'll be a different person. Not in the sense that you've changed, but in the sense that you've finally become who you were always meant to be. The person you were before the world told you who you should be. The person who is free from fear, free from ego, free from the need to control. You'll be living in a higher vibration, and from that space, everything in your life will begin to shift. Your relationships, your career, your health, everything will start to align with your true self. But here's the thing, the dark night of the soul isn't something you just go through once and then it's over. It's a cyclical process. As you continue to raise your vibration, you might find yourself going through smaller, less intense versions of the dark night. Each time you reach a new level of consciousness, there's a part of your ego that has to be released. And with each release, you get closer to your true self. Living in alignment, the final integration of your true self. All right, you've made it through the hardest part. You've gone through the dark night of the soul, faced the parts of yourself you didn't want to see, and now you're stepping into something entirely different, alignment. But what does that even mean? What does it look like to live in alignment with your highest self, with your true vibration? Living in alignment isn't about perfection. It's not about waking up every day feeling like you've got everything figured out. It's more like a constant flow, a state where everything in your life reflects who you really are, not who you've been conditioned to be. It's when your actions, thoughts, emotions, and even your relationships all line up with the truth of who you are at the deepest level. And when that happens, life starts to feel different. Not necessarily, but there's a sense of peace, even in the chaos. You begin to notice that the things you used to stress over don't seem as overwhelming anymore. It's not that challenges disappear from your life, but you're no longer reacting to them from a place of fear or ego. Instead, you're responding from a place of clarity and inner power. You've let go of the need to control everything. You realize that you are in control, but not in the way you used to think. You're not controlling the external world, you're controlling your internal state. The outside world might still throw curveballs at you, but you're no longer knocked off balance by them. This isn't some magical state where nothing ever goes wrong. Things will still happen that challenge you, but now you're able to navigate those situations from a completely different perspective. You're not reacting from old patterns or wounds anymore. You're responding from a place of presence, where you can see things for what they really are, not what your ego wants them to be. It feels like stepping into a room that's been cluttered for years, and suddenly everything is clean, organized, and you can finally breathe. But here's the catch: living in alignment means constant awareness. It's not a switch you flip and then you're good for life. It's a daily practice of checking in with yourself, of noticing when something feels off, and having the courage to make adjustments. That might mean letting go of a relationship that no longer serves you, even if it's comfortable. It might mean stepping into a career path that scares you because it feels aligned with your soul's purpose. even though it's not the safe option. The truth is, alignment often requires you to make tough choices. It's not about floating through life with a smile on your face. It's about having the strength to make decisions that honor your soul, even when they don't make sense to your logical mind or the people around you. Living in alignment means trusting yourself on a level that most people never reach. It means knowing, deep down, that you don't need anyone's validation or approval because you're already living in your truth. You start to notice that the things you used to chase, money, success, recognition, don't hold the same weight they once did. It's not that you don't care about those things anymore, but they're no longer the driving force behind your actions. You're not chasing external validation because you found something far more valuable: inner peace. And that's the real prize. When you're living in alignment, everything you do comes from a place of authenticity. You're no longer trying to prove yourself to anyone because you've already proven it to the only person that matters you. But let's get practical for a moment. What does all this mean in terms of your day-to-day life? It means you start to make different choices. You might find that the job you've been in for years no longer feels right, even if it's paying the bills. You start to realize that there's something more out there for you, something that aligns with the truth of who you are. And it's not about throwing everything away and starting over from scratch. It's about making small, conscious decisions each day that bring you closer to your true self. It could be as simple as changing the way you interact with people. Maybe you stop engaging in conversations that feel draining or manipulative. Maybe you start spending more time with people who inspire you, who lift you up, and who challenge you to grow. You begin to notice the energy around you more intensely, and you start to choose where you place your focus. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter, and you invest your energy in the things that do. And yes, this might mean letting go of some relationships. Not everyone is going to understand the path you're on, and that's okay. Some people might even fall away from your life naturally, and while that can be painful, it's also a sign that you're moving forward. The people who are meant to be in your life will stay, and they'll meet you at your new level of vibration. Living in alignment doesn't mean cutting people off or isolating yourself. It means surrounding yourself with energy that matches where you're headed, not where you've been. One of the most powerful shifts that happens when you're living in alignment is your relationship with yourself. You start to treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion you'd offer to someone you love. You stop being so hard on yourself for not being perfect. You realize that the journey isn't about getting somewhere, it's about being here right now and enjoying the process. You stop beating yourself up for where you think you should be, and you start appreciating where you are. There's a deep sense of self-love that comes with alignment. Not the kind of love that's based on accomplishments or external success, but the kind of love that says, I am enough. Just as I am. You stop looking for ways to fix yourself because you realize there's nothing to fix. You're not broken, you're just evolving. And that evolution is a beautiful, never-ending process. And this is where the real magic happens. When you're living in alignment, opportunities start to show up in your life that you never could have planned for. Things that seemed impossible before suddenly become possible. You're not forcing things to happen anymore. They're happening because you're in the right vibration to receive them. The universe starts to respond to your energy in ways that can feel almost surreal, like things are just falling into place effortlessly. But this isn't luck. This is alignment. Living in alignment isn't about getting everything you want. It's about realizing that you already have everything you need. It's about understanding that the external world is just a reflection of your internal state. When you're in alignment, the external world begins to reflect that. You attract experiences, people, and opportunities that resonate with your true self. And the best part, you're not attached to any of it. You're not clinging to outcomes or trying to control the future. You're simply living in the present, knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. But don't get it twisted, alignment doesn't mean you're done. You don't reach this state and then stop evolving. In fact, the more aligned you become, the more you realize just how much more there is to discover. The process of alignment is ongoing. Each day is an opportunity to deepen your connection with yourself and the world around you. And that's what makes this whole thing so powerful. You're not chasing after some final destination. You're living each moment fully, knowing that the real reward is the present moment, the peace, the connection, the flow. So what's next? There's always more. The journey doesn't end here, but now you're walking it from a place of truth, from a place of alignment, and that changes everything.